All right, let's talk about some social engineering techniques. So with social engineering, there are three major categories of social engineering. One of those would be human-based. The next one would be computer-based. And the last would be mobile-based. And mobile and computer are kind of similar to each other in some ways. But with human-based, what we're doing is we are interacting with other humans. Impersonation. Somebody walks into your organization and they have a package and they're dressed in a brown uniform that says UPS, and they walk like they're in a hurry. What do you think? You think they're a UPS delivery person. Or if they have a uniform on and it says FedEx and they have a package, yeah, that's what you think. And what it turns out is that everybody wears a uniform. The uniform advertises to other humans who you are affiliated with, what you believe, and what you do. So if you look around you on a given location, you can make individual assessments about what other humans want you to think of them. So for instance, if I want you to think that I am a manager in a business, then I'll wear, like especially a CFO or whatever, I'll wear a full suit and a tie, and maybe a power tie or red tie. If I want you to think that I'm a mid-level manager or a regular worker, then I'll wear slacks, dress shoes, but an open collar, no tie, right? Or maybe even a collar shirt with a logo of where I work. If I want you to think that I'm a delivery person, then I'll wear a delivery uniform. If I want you to think that whatever I want you to think, I wear the uniform of that part of society, whether it be work, non-work. And in doing that, what we're doing is we're appealing to other people to make a judgment about us. And then we can use that against them to be able to do whatever we want. There's a really cool video that you might want to look at in terms of impersonation. And if you go to YouTube and do a search on this, it's how to get anywhere with a ladder. How to get anywhere with a ladder. There's a couple of different versions of this video, but the one I like the most is an Australian guy. And what he does is he's carrying a ladder and he's going into the subway. And the subway person just lets him in, right? You have a ladder, obviously you're going to repair something. He has a ladder, he's going into a movie theater. They say, yeah, he even gets the name of the theater wrong, and he's still able to get into a theater with a ladder. No matter where he goes, he has a ladder, so what's happening? The other humans with Human OS 1.0 are making a judgment about somebody carrying a ladder. Somebody carrying a ladder, first of all, the ladder is heavy. Second of all, that means they're going to repair something, do some good, and so on. So yeah, impersonation is powerful. That's why I wanted to pause there and talk about it. The next thing we have is vishing, where we have, it's just like phishing, right? It's just a message that made you look, and then captures you and makes you click. Eavesdropping, listening in, shoulder surfing, we already talked about that. Dumpster diving, we already talked about that. Reverse social engineering, where the social engineer will develop a relationship with the target and set themselves up as an expert. And with reverse social engineering, the target, the victim, will seek out the social engineer because they're an expert and spill information to them. Now, I need to pause again, talk a little bit about the difference between piggybacking and tailgating. Again, we're in human-based social engineering. Piggybacking. Have you ever given somebody a piggyback ride or gotten a piggyback ride from somebody? Now, how does that work? Well, let's say your little nephew or your niece jumps on your back and starts giggling. Well, guess what you have to do if you're going to give them a piggyback ride? You have to hold their legs, and then you can run around like crazy and make everybody giggle, right? Or maybe you did that to other people when you were a kid. Now, with piggyback ride, if you do one thing, there is no piggyback ride. If you don't hold their legs, there's no piggyback ride, right? And it's more of a strangulation ride. And so with piggybacking, you are giving somebody permission to enter the organization. Whereas with tailgating, you're just providing the method to get in, but you had no idea. So with piggybacking, even if let's say that somebody's behind me when I'm going into the business and I see them and I hold the door open for them just a little bit, then they come in the door. That is piggybacking. But if I'm going into the same business, the same scenario, and I open the door and I keep walking and I don't know that somebody stuck their hand in the door and stopped it from closing and then came in after me, that's tailgating. I didn't give them permission in any way to get in at all. So difference between those. Let's talk about real quick phishing. We've seen that before. Convincing people this is going to happen on your computer. Again, computer-based social engineering. Pop-up windows, spam, instant messenger, chat, scareware. You do it now or else your computer is not going to work anymore or your account's going to be closed or something like that, right? You get that on your email. Then there's mobile-based social engineering with the help of mobile apps, phishing apps, malicious apps, fake security apps. We'll look at some of these as we go through. Repackaging legitimate apps. And then we have smishing, right? Where again, it's another term for phishing, but instead they're trying to convince you to do something, but it's through a text message. So with human-based social engineering, you pretend to be somebody who's legitimate, impersonating somebody. This is one where the attacker says, hey, this is John from finance department. I forgot my password. So no, it's not really John, but it is potentially a legitimate sounding user. Another one is an important user. Hey, this is Kevin. I'm the CFO secretary and I'm working on an important project. Lost my password. Can you help me out? Right. So there is important user. Other ones are where this is a vishing example where they're tricking you into getting personal information. This is actually using the telephone system, VoIP. That's where the V comes in and through a call. So calls, says he forgot his password, add that if he misses the deadline, there's that urgency we're talking about. On this big project, the boss might fire him. And then there's the feelings of empathy that the attacker is preying on. And so they quickly reset the password, but it's for the wrong user, right? It's actually a trick. Also, we have eavesdropping, shoulder surfing, and dumpster diving. We've already talked about these. Just any looking at what somebody's doing, even if you look at their ATM pin or looking at what they're typing or listening into what they're doing or leaving your phone on record behind a bush in the conference room, one of those fake bushes, in the conference room, or just finding treasure in trash, right? Post-it notes, printed documents that accidentally only printed on one side, so they put it all in the trash or in the recycling, and you get it out, read it, and use it for nefarious purposes. Also with human-based social engineering, we talked about reverse social engineering already, where the person sets themselves up as a authority, and we talked about the differences between piggybacking and tailgating. Remember, piggybacking is when you allow, either unintentionally or intentionally, someone to gain access using your credentials, right? Whereas tailgating is accidental. Right, so we also have computer-based social engineering. You know what a pop-up window is. You go to a website and something pops up, and it's fake though, asking you for fake login information. Hoax letters. You know what the oldest, I don't know if this was this is more of a chain letter, but a hoax letter has information with a warning or whatever about a virus. Like there was one back in the old days that talked about a virus. I can't remember what it was, but actually what they made you do, they said in order to make sure, check your Windows folder. And it had steps for you to get to your Windows System 32. And if you see this little icon that looks like a teddy bear, that's the virus. Delete it. It was a hoax. Another one that came out even before that, you can look this up if you want to in Google or DuckDuckGo. And it's Neiman Marcus cookies. Neiman Marcus cookies. And so there's purportedly from a woman who had been dealt very meanly and poorly from Neiman Marcus when she asked about their cookie recipe and spent a whole bunch of money, and they were just bad to her. And she got so mad that she's publishing that cookie recipe that she paid so much money for and had so much hassle, she's just giving it to everybody, right? But it actually turned out to be a chain letter. It was not free gifts or anything like that. It just turned out to be not true, all right? A little bit of a hoax. But apparently the cookie recipe worked. So hey, you never know. But it wasn't actually true. The next thing we look at with computer-based social engineering is chat messages and spam messages. We're pretty familiar with those. A chat pops up with a link or a number to call. Spam has information trying to grab from you, like social security numbers or whatever, or with a link to a fake website. Scareware, I've already talked about that a little bit, where they try to scare you into doing something and tricking you into going to the wrong website or clicking on a link or doing something based upon scaring you. If you look at the way emails look in terms of phishing, often it's fairly easy to tell, especially if you are an American and you're used to American English. The English in the email will be perhaps just a little bit off. Also, I've had the opportunity, I put opportunity in quotes, to follow many of these phishing links. And if you look over here, this is what happens when you click on the link. The browser usually will warn you, hey, don't go there, that's fake. And you have to go through all the warnings from the browser. But once you get to the actual website, it looks legitimate. It has the correct logos and all the layout is very nice. And you fill in all this information and then you click on submit information. And I did this once with a phishing email for Bank of America. Filled out the information. Usually my first name is FBI and my last name is investigator. But hey, once I do it, I submit it, and then it took me seamlessly into the real Bank of America site. Same logo, same position of logos on the page, same color scheme. It just was masterfully done. So, but my browser, when I first clicked on the link in the email, my browser screamed at me and it said, hey, this is fake, this is potentially harmful, hey, don't do that. And I had to find ways around the browser to finally let me get to the phishing site that I really wanted to get to. Thank you, browser. So also, if you look at phishing emails, they usually have urgency. Also, sometimes you can hover over the link and you can see it's not really going to PayPal or to the bank site or whatever. And so you can find that, yes, there's urgency, your account might be deactivated, or there's money available or something like that. And they're trying to capture you with pushing those buttons that we're talking about, the programming of Human OS 1.0. There are other types of phishing, spear phishing, where it's targeted at specific individuals. Very often, spear phishing is whaling, looking for the people with the money and the control, which would be the C class, the people who drive the Tesla trucks and the Mercedes Class C cars or whatever, right? They're looking for CFOs, CIOs, CEOs, politicians, celebrities, things like that. Why? Because they have control and money. So often spear phishing is whaling. There's also farming, redirecting traffic to a site with a malicious program on it. There's spamming. It's like spam, but it's instant messaging. And there are a lot of tools that can be used for phishing. Shellfish. Shellfish. No, you're probably not allergic to this app. What it does, it's a tool that allows you to phish social networks, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, etc. And you can choose your social network. Look at all these networks: Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, Twitter, GitHub, etc. And then you come up with a phishing campaign. So it walks you right through it, step by step. You can find this in your Parrot installation in your iLab computers. Black Eye, PhishX, Trape, and etc. There are lots of different tools that you can use to launch, or an attacker from somewhere can use to launch a phishing campaign. One other area that you need to be aware of with social engineering is malicious applications, specifically, but not exclusively, specifically for the Google Play Store, but sometimes also even for the Apple App Store. And there'll be a malicious app with a nice looking name and logo, You download the app, and then you get infected by malware on your phone. That is why it's so important. I keep telling everybody in every class, you need to have anti-malware software on your phone. If you don't, you're wide open to an attack like this. Also, we have repackaging apps where the malicious developer will take an app and repackage it to look like a legitimate app, and then the user would download and install it, and bada boom, they get attacked. There are also fake security apps. There was a study that was done probably just a few years ago. I can't remember the exact, I think it was in 2019. But anyway, the study was done, and it showed that roughly 60 to 80% of the apps in the Google Play Store, and I don't know if they corrected this or not, either were non-functional security apps. In other words, I download XYZ antivirus, and I install it, and I run a scan, and it doesn't do anything. It just has graphics. It doesn't help me, doesn't protect against any attacks, doesn't actually do anything, right? So either it's, number one, non-functional, or number two, it's dangerous. And the dangerous ones outnumbered the non-functional ones. And so you have to be very careful. So even though I tell everybody they need to have antivirus software on their phone, what I say is, what antivirus software are you running on your work computer, especially? Or your local computer. Let's say that person says, oh, we're running Avast, or we're running McAfee. Well, that is the app that you should install from the App Store. Don't surf through all the apps and find Billy Bob's antivirus. I mean, that's not what we want to do. We want to actually find one that matches up to something you know, all right? So that's very important. So you don't get a fake security app from the App Store. Another one is social engineering using smishing, SMS phishing. You've seen this before. You've gotten a text, it's random, asking you to call a number or click on something. Don't do it. Don't call the number. Don't click on anything. That's just smishing.